best in the biz, Susan Slusser from the San Francisco Chronicle, joining us right now. You can follow her at her name, Susan Slusser. Susan, great to see you. I like the kind of hangout, cozy couch session for us right now, because we're going to have to get into it with some therapy session too for Giants fans at some point. But let's actually start with this, Susan, just your reaction to our poll question. Do you like the way that free agency is set up, or would you rather have it in more of a frenzy?
Well, I mean, I kind of look at it two ways. It gives us all stuff to talk about all winter, right? I mean, what would you guys be talking about if there was like a 3-day or 2-week signing period? But I would be spending more time on this couch doing not work and, catching up on Netflix or whatever if there was a 3-day or 2-week signing period. I mean, it works for other sports, right? The shorter signing period. It certainly could work, give everybody a little bit more of a break. But then you guys would be running reruns or something.
Yeah, you're right. No, for us, Susan, it makes all the sense in the world. We love it. So I want to keep it just this way. I already voted. All right, so let's get to the Giants first, and let's start with Jung Hoo Lee and what you think he's going to bring to the table, and also how cool it's been for him to come to the Bay Area, embrace it, be out at the hoops game with the Warriors, and I saw from the press conference it took forever to put his uniform on, and then he's like handsome. So he looks like he's going to be a character, a fun guy to interact with the media. Are you excited about that? And obviously what he can bring to the table on the field?
Yeah, he's a charmer. He's got the looks. The Giants are a team that are in sort of desperate need of a little extra personality and energy. It seems like he brings that. He's got to play on the field, though, and the KBO is very different, obviously, from the big leagues. Can he hit big league pitching? That's going to be the one big question mark throughout the season. He doesn't seem to lack for confidence. He said something to the effect like from day one of the season, I think Giants fans are going to be impressed with my skills. So I like that a lot.
Okay, first of all, Susan, I thought that was a overalls he had with just the one, like the 1990s overalls where they only had the one strap, but now I saw it was a man purse, so it makes more sense. Yeah, until he stood up, I was like, man, that's kind of awesome. He has the one strap overalls on. Is this, Susan, as a former Giant star, and I know how much they love star power out there in the Bay Area, it was me, and then it was Barry Bonds, far behind me when I played for the Giants. So I understand how much they love star power out in San Francisco. Is Lee enough for these fans to get them excited? Because they have been clamoring and clamoring and clamoring. We need a star since Buster Posey. Or are they going to have to do more to quiet the fan base?
I mean, obviously, they made a huge run at Ohtani. They're apparently in on a lot of other big names, so that they know. Even Bob Melvin at his introductory press conference said, "This is a town. This is like a star-powered town. We like our stars here. You look at the Niners, you look at the Warriors. Right now, the Giants are a team that's kind of been boring. They had a couple good years under Gabe Kapler and, 107 win season. But even that season, Buster retires after that. I talked to somebody the other day that said this whole idea is it's San Francisco. Is that driving away free agents? Well, first of all, they signed Carlos Correa last year. That the city didn't have anything to do with that. That was the medicals that kind of upended that deal. So I think some of that's a little overblown. But I was talking to an agent recently who said, it's not San Francisco, it's Buster retiring. Like that's kind of changed the fortunes of the franchise and maybe how free agents, especially pitchers, might think of it. But pitcher-friendly ballpark, beautiful ballpark, mostly good weather. There are a lot of reasons for people to come to San Francisco. Lots of money. They've got lots of money.
Wait, good weather? Wait, what?
Wait. Did you play in Minnesota?
Yeah, we were in a dome. It was great.
Oh,
remember that movie? Remember that dumb movie you guys made about Moneyball that we ended that shit? Remember that year? By the way, my daughter's watching that in school. Sorry, Kratz, I know I jumped you, but
no,
my daughter, the teacher in statistics, is like, we're going to watch this great movie called Moneyball. And my daughter's like, what's Moneyball? And I was like, just make sure at the end, I didn't get actor credit for being at the end when we sent them home packing that year.
It's a good point. I'm not saying anything.
It's good history.
It's a good history lesson, except for they forgot about 3 pitchers that were pretty good on that team.
Yeah, that carried the team.
And the MVP, Miguel Tejada.
And a third baseman. And a third baseman that was pretty decent, yeah.
So you're telling me talent wins. Talent
Yeah.
win. Wow.
I love Scott
Brilliant.
Hatterberg, but he is not why that team won.
It was definitely Scott Hatterberg. That's what it was. And the draft. All right. So what does he need to do? What does Hoo Lee need to do? What is he need to come in and do? Because my comps that I see are like Ha-Sung Kim, who was paid $28 million. Like, is the price tag going to put an expectation of him as something that he's not?
Well, I think the thing that Giants have like 5% of the time, they think that will translate. So who knows? You just never know. I was struck a little bit the other day by the press conference, how charming.
Uh-oh. We'll bring her back in a second.
The couch didn't have quite the Wi-Fi that we thought. And I'm pretty sure
strong.
I was a bigger star in San Francisco than you were for your half a season. Okay, AJ?
No, I was there a full year. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it felt like half a season in the history.
No, it felt like 3 years actually.
I was there for 6 weeks, and it felt like half a season.
Yeah, I was there for a year, and it felt like I was like a dog year. 7 years of good luck.
Why did it feel that way? Oh, Susan's back.
Susan, because I had reporters like Susan, always with my back.
Go ahead, Susan. We lost you there. If you want to re-rack the answer.
Yeah. So we were talking about Lee, the strikeout rate, the low strikeout rate. I think they think that the contact will, but you never know. Big league. He hasn't been facing guys throwing 100 on the regular. So it's a question mark. And he was so charming and handsome and funny. It kind of reminded me a few years ago when the A's signed Hiro Nakajima. Was a big deal. He was a star in Japan. He didn't play a game in the major leagues. He just wasn't quite a big leaguer. You never know. You just never know. And Japan tends to be a little bit more projectable than the KBO. So fingers crossed, because he ticks all the boxes that they need. Left-handed hitter, good outfielder. They really want to improve their defense. That's huge with, they're going pitching and defense. They have to in that division. So, I think the Giants are really hopeful that the metrics they have line up with his performance, but we'll see. It's going to be an ongoing thing all year.
Oh man, he better work out, because they spent a lot of money on him plus the posting fee. So yeah, I'm rooting for him because he seems like a fun guy. We want more of that.
They have the money.
Yes, they have the money.
So,
right. They'll be okay.
And they're going to spend more of it.
You're right. And I'll get to that in a sec. So one other part that you touched on that I want to ask you about is the whole San Francisco narrative right now that has been carried. And I just want to preface it with, Ken talked about it, Rosenthal, on our show, and also kind of wrote about it a little bit and tweeted about it. Here's Logan Webb reacting. A lot of people that have never played in SF seem to know a lot about it. I've gotten quite a few angry trolls coming after me. You're pushing your narrative about the city, whatever. And I'm like, re-rack the video of what we've done. I've asked 2 questions about it to a reporter who talks to everyone and to a player saying, hey, what do you think of San Francisco, and why do you think some players don't want to sign there? And all of a sudden it's like, how dare Foul Territory even talk about that? I'm like, why don't you flip the narrative around and say, hey, our city's awesome, right? Instead of taking it so personally. So how do you think this is all kind of played out publicly and then with fans? Should they be pissed off at everyone, or should they use it as positive press to be like, this place is awesome?
Yeah, as Reza, I live in San Francisco. My mom is from San Francisco. My grandma was from San Francisco. The residents were kind of like, yeah, we don't want anyone else moving in here. So there's the longtime people are like, yeah, no, it's terrible. Don't come here. But no, it's an amazing city. It's an awesome city. I travel all over the country, obviously, with my job. The problems San Francisco has are everywhere. It has turned into sort of a political hot topic in some news circles because of its policies, and I think that it gets held up very unfairly for that. But it's still the same beautiful city it's ever been. The problem, I think, when it comes to baseball, is that a lot of the teams stay in Union Square, where there are a lot of big, beautiful hotels. But if you then walk or take a cab or an Uber to the ballpark, you're going through some areas that aren't quite so good. residents don't go through those areas that aren't all that good all the time. Like in any city, you kind of stay away from the problem spots. But yeah, there are problems that need addressing here, like every single city in the country and a lot of the great world cities too.
All right, so if you're the Giants and you're trying to woo Shohei Ohtani or possibly a Yamamoto, who's the person that you're going, okay, hey, you know what? We want this person. We want in with Buster Posey. We want Farhan Zaidi in here. These are the Dodgers are putting out the next 6 years of players to come and woo Yamamoto. Who are the Giants doing that to? And could that be the kicking point for people that don't, Carlos Correa wanted to come there and be the star. Who do the Giants have and how do they woo these players if you get away from the whole, guys don't like the city or players have a negative opinion of San Francisco?
Well, here's one of the things first of all, Logan Webb obviously has been very vocal. He was very vocal about wanting Shohei Ohtani's big personality. He's from Northern California. He's a great advocate for the team. He grew up an A's fan, so he knows the whole Bay Area really well. He's from the Sacramento area. And he's obviously all-star caliber type starter. But if I'm the Giants and I'm going after Yamamoto, I show them all the highlight reels of Patrick Bailey and his catching skills. AJ, I'm sure you've seen him. He looks like he's going to be a special one. At points, his numbers have been even better than Buster Posey's were at the same age and the same experience level. So he's got some skills and he's got a pretty good personality too. Less than a year in the big leagues. But I would set them up with him and say, like, this could be your catcher for the entire time you're here. So he's a big selling point, I think, for a pitcher. And then just show kind of the results a lot of the pitchers have had there and the ballpark. For pitcher, I think San Francisco is an easy sell.
Well, no doubt about it for a pitcher, from the pitcher side of it. So where's the Blake Snell and where's the Yamamoto and where's the Jordan Montgomery? But is Bob Melvin coming there? Is this going to be, are we going to see a changing of the guard in the Giants' philosophy? Is it going to be no more pinch hit in the third inning, no more opener 3 out of 5 days? Or are they going to stick with that philosophy? People said that was more of a Gabe Kapler philosophy than a Farhan Zaidi. So are we going to see more of a traditional baseball team?
Well, when I covered the A's when Melvin was there, they did platoon a lot. Now, you could say maybe that was also front office, but I certainly think that most managers these days are going to go for a platoon advantage if there's much of a difference. And the Giants probably will continue that. But even Farhan Zaidi said, like, hey, look, if I had 9 everyday players, I'd run them out there every day. That's the ideal. And I think they're trying to get to that point. The thing to me that will be different with Bob Melvin is the use of the pitchers. We are not going to see openers all the time. There were points last year where the Giants had essentially a 2-man rotation and a handful of openers and some guys that were piggybacking. That wasn't flying with some of the older starters who wound up in unfamiliar roles and didn't fare as well. Look at Sean Manaea. When he came back in the rotation late in the season, he was terrific. He looked like the guy he is because that's the role he's always had. He felt comfortable and was familiar. That's where I think we're going to see the biggest differences in the pitching usage. But also, one reason I think Melvin is there is because he's also a good recruiter. He's had great relationships with players. You guys know nobody ever has about it. He just kind of gets it. He treats everyone well. Players love playing for him. I think it does signal a shift in philosophy that most players will like. And I definitely think just the sheer personality, the emotional intelligence, all of that, I think that plays into the hiring and kind of maybe a different. And you know what? I liked covering Gabe a lot. Gabe Kapler's a smart guy, really interesting. And they obviously had some good teams, but this is a real shift. And I think that was deliberate.
Okay. When the Giants don't get Yamamoto, who's next on the list?
Well, I wrote last week, I think that they should just go straight after Blake Snell right now. Like, don't even worry about the Yamamoto market. Now, obviously, that's up to Snell and his agent, Scott Boras. Do they want to wait? But there is this other narrative that the Giants are kind of everyone's second place, second choice, third choice. Maybe they're getting used to get bigger deals. Set the narrative yourself. Say, this is our guy. We wanted him. We are signing him. Here's the deal. It's done. This is not we were his first choice. He was our first choice. The guy's won Cy Youngs in each league. You can quibble about the walks and all of that, but the stuff is phenomenal. He's pitched for Bob Melvin. His numbers against the NL West, particularly the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks have owned the Giants the last couple of years. They're off the charts good. So why not just go do that? It looks like he might be, compared to Yamamoto, a little bit of a deal and a more of a known commodity.
And so that closes the book for us on asking you San Francisco Giants questions. And I agree, by the way. I think Snell would be a perfect signing for many reasons there. We'll move over to Oakland, and I'm not going to ask you about their offseason plans because they don't care. Why should we care? I don't even think they care about signing many dudes to legitimate one-year deals to try and trade them off like any kind of big-time players. Nothing. So we won't spend any time on that. Just since we last spoke to you, any updated thoughts on what you've observed there? Is there any sliver of a chance still that something falls through? And what's been the pulse out there? We still get, I would say almost on a daily basis, notes from people, fans, media. Thanks for keeping the conversation going in your player interviews, all of that, because we just don't want people to forget about how ridiculous this whole situation looks on the outside and that we're letting a villain get away with doing this. Any updated thoughts or observations?
Well, I'm not sure I could say it better than you just did because it's an atrocity. It's just awful. Like there's just no reason. And it's stupid. You're going from a bigger market to a smaller market. You're ceding all of Northern California to a team that already is doing extremely well. For a lesser market, that really, that the idea is they're going to pack stadiums, for half a baseball season because they're a destination. I don't know. It's not much of a TV market. It doesn't make sense. It's the A's, and they take so many missteps that I think it still could fall through. The hope locally, of course, is that John Fisher just decides to sell. Joe Lacob, who owns the Warriors and is obviously has done very well with them, has essentially a standing offer for them. Dave Stewart has been involved in many attempts to buy them, along with Reggie Jackson. I think all of these would be much better owners, much better for baseball. Oakland was pretty far along in okaying that Howard Terminal on the waterfront stadium that never really made sense. I think everyone else would just put in a nice, beautiful baseball-only stadium at the Coliseum site where you got public transportation, loads of parking. And you guys are all probably way too young to remember the old stadium, but it was beautiful. You had a view of the hills and the BART train going by, and there was ice plant in the outfield. It was a lovely stadium. And then you build around it. The A's ownership kept saying, we need a ballpark on the water and we need an area where we can develop. They've got neither of those things in Las Vegas. So a lot of hooey, it looks to me like they ran out of money and went, where can we go where somebody else will build a ballpark for us?
Hooey. First time I've heard hooey on the show, but I like it. So quickly, Susan, you mentioned the A's leaving, the Raiders left. Even the Warriors left Oakland. So is it an Oakland thing? We talked about San Francisco, and people have their perception of San Francisco. It's a beautiful city. It's on the water, the whole deal. And people are saying they don't want to go there. That's not our opinion. That's what people are saying. Okay. But why are all these teams leaving Oakland? Raiders left. The Warriors went to San Francisco, and now the A's are gone. So is it an Oakland thing? And do they need to change some of their policies to try to keep teams there?
I really don't think it. I think they're all sort of individual cases. Certainly the Warriors, had a opportunity for a beautiful new facility in San Francisco and, an awful lot of corporate sponsors, all that kind of stuff. Although the arena in Oakland was certainly fine and they were selling out. There was no issue with Oakland with the Warriors and all those fans still go to the game. The Raiders, it's not like the Raiders have shown a lot of loyalty over the years. So I'm not they're kind of an asterisk. When they moved back, they ruined the Coliseum basically for baseball. So I'm not a big fan of the Raiders, period. But of course they left. They're the Raiders. The A's, even people with Major League Baseball looking back have said when they had a legit shot to go to San Jose in a beautiful location with a ballpark that had funding, all of that, they should have just said, like, hey, best interest of baseball, we go back to what it used to be. And it is in every other two market team where there are no delineated territorial rights within the territory, and the A's moved to San Jose. Oh my gosh, San Jose is the biggest city in Northern California, third biggest in California. All, Silicon Valley money. It would have been so good for baseball, so good for the Bay Area. I love Oakland. I think the A's can thrive in Oakland. I grew up going to games there from a very small age. And I think the Coliseum site's ideal. I think somebody is going to take that site and do something wonderful with it, whatever it is. And I think baseball's missed a trick. And I think A's ownership is incredibly short-sighted with all of this.
Nailed it. And you're right, though, on MLB, too, for them to not step in and whatever who cares what the rules are in the past? That San Jose is not an option because of territory. That is such garbage. And really,
it's hooey.
Sport.
Hooey.
Again,
hooey.
Yes. Double whammy.
I can't wait to see you this year. I'm just going to walk up to Susan and go, hooey.
I've really aged myself throughout this show.
We're all aging every single day. Susan, great to have you on. As always, really appreciate the time and enjoy some more action that's coming up soon for San Francisco this offseason.